into the security domain. So that's when I decided that I want to make the shift from doing corporate trainings to doing security related trainings.
Okay, okay, that's good to know. So I would like to first of all understand about since you've been into a different stream of sessions or trainings altogether. So what were the reasons that drew you towards personal security and made you go towards this particular stream of enlightening or making women especially aware about personal security?
So I was actually returning from my training in Israel, and this was 2016, sometime July. And I just happened to look. I was just looking long flights. So I was just looking through the newspaper, and I found an article written on the Nirbhaya case. Now, the Nirbhaya case, if you remember, it happened in 2012 December, and I was still reading about this article, and still the article said that the justice had not been done, and whatever all that info about the article in 2016, and that is when I realized that we are so focused on national security and internal security and everything, but we are somewhere missing a very important component of the entire security structure, which is the personal security. Now that is when I decided that okay, I think it's time to focus on this subject, because at that point of time there was nobody in India who was talking about personal security. So, and having trained in close protection, there is a small part in close protection where when you're taking a VIP for detail, when you have the discovery meet with a VIP, and you agree that okay, we will protect you. So you have a small briefing with his family, with the kids, with the spouse, and all of them, and you brief them on certain things that they must do and that they must not do. Simple things like you tell their kids, if they have kids, you tell them that don't make social media posts about your father or your mother, whoever the VIP is. Don't disclose your future trips in advance, correct, and all a lot of other things. Always when you're going, don't go alone, avoid going alone. And even if you're going alone, let's say, always watch your six. Six is basically that.
Okay.
Always keep watching your back, who's coming, who's not coming. And if there is somebody consistently following you for a long time, then you must be alert. So these kind of things. So there's a briefing that is given to their family, VIP's family, and that is what helps us protect the VIP, and with contribution from his family as well, because a lot of times it's seen that the VIP's family is basically responsible for the breach. They post selfies, and that okay, now we are here, and we are going there. So it happens, and it's not intentional, it's unintentional, they're not aware of it. So what I did was I took that content, the briefing that's given to the VIP's family, and I also met a lot of women, both physically and virtually, who had been through abuse. And I spoke to them, I understood what had happened to them. I understood about the criminal who was involved. I understood his profile. I understood how he made them his victim. And by understanding all of these, then I put together a program which is today called the Personal Security Education Program. So
I see.
that's how this was built.
Okay, okay, I see. So I think it's been a long journey.
Yeah, making the program wasn't so long because I exactly knew what was required. It was just, clarifying, or, doing a small litmus test of my
Yes.
program with, victims who had already been through abuse. So I shared my program with them, and, and I asked them that, I mean, just imagine. if you had gone through a program like this, would you think, do you think, be honest, do you think you would have become a victim?
Right.
And the majority of them said, no, it was impossible. If I knew these things, I don't think I would have become a victim. So that is
Right.
what gave me the confidence that yes, I have something good, which can do good, which when shared with people can do good.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. That is actually the need of the hour also, considering the situation, and especially I think post-COVID, these things are quite prominent now because people are losing jobs and probably their old businesses have been shut and they are facing a lot of financial crisis. So I think these things will rise in the near future. And I think if we have any such way of maybe getting to know that how can we safeguard ourselves, then I think that is definitely a benefit for us in the long run. Even if you know something, that is definitely a beneficial for us. Yeah, please, you were saying something.
Yes, Meena. See, prevention is wiser than prosecution,
Yeah.
and we must understand that very carefully. Because
Yes.
because once you become a victim, it's end of the story. You're a victim. That's it.
Hmm.
I'm sure there are many who can get over the mental agony of being victimized, but there are so many others who are not able to get out of that. So my
Right.
point is, why would you wait for a situation where you might become a victim? Instead of that, if you know how to predict, this is a security philosophy that I've put together for myself, and this is something that I follow everywhere, in every part of my life, and both personal and professional. So it's 5 stages: predict, prepare, protect, prevent, preserve. Once you
Okay.
apply this formula, it's predict, prepare, protect, prevent, and preserve. Okay. So once you apply this formula in anything you do, especially security, you will notice that it's just impossible for anyone to make you their victim,
Hmm. Right.
because you start thinking on those lines. And that is where, I keep talking about the importance of building this security culture.
Hmm.
We as India, we need to build the culture of security, which means that every single person, the 1.3, 1.4 billion people that we have in the country, we need to start thinking security.
Hmm.
For example, today it's our culture that when we go out and we meet somebody, we say namaste, or kaise hain, we
Yeah,
greet
yeah.
with folded hands. So
Yes.
this folded hands is our culture.
Hmm.
Correct.
Right.
Now, you don't think before you do this. It
Correct.
automatically happens.
Yes.
Correct. It's a muscle memory.
True. True.
Correct. It's
Hmm.
subconscious. Similarly, once you start thinking about security on a daily basis, on a minute basis, on a second basis, initially it will be difficult, because you're all the time you're thinking of that. But it's like driving.
Hmm.
When you're learning to drive, it's very difficult. You're focusing on, oh, am I hitting, am I too close, am I keeping distance? You're bogged down with
Hmm.
so many thoughts. But after a period of time, once you've learned driving and it becomes subconscious to you, it so many times happens that you start from your house and you reach your destination and you don't even realize you got there.
Right.
Correct. So that is security culture. A culture which you imbibe in yourself, which you build in yourself over a period of time, which becomes a mechanism in your subconscious, which starts protecting you without your notice.
Right, right. So it's like kind of a instinct that you immediately get,
Exactly. Exactly. And
even if you.
instinct is a very important tool
Yes,
in building the security culture.
right. So, understanding this more like, let me just first of all recap once again. We are discussing about personal security with Chakradhari Rao, famously known as CR or Chakradhari, and today we would be discussing about some of the important aspects of personal security, and then probably a glance over what an offline security session would hold for people in general. So there are a few questions which have been raised by the participants. So I would like to ask you those questions. The first one being, somebody asked that um, what are the current security threats that are happening across India, because of which we should have the knowledge on personal security, or we should take these kind of sessions regularly. If you can highlight maybe one or two.
Well, right now, I think, okay, I will talk about one generic threat because it's important for us to know about that, which is disinformation. Correct. Now we have a lot of we just got done with elections, and a lot of political narratives are going around here and there. So I suggest all the viewers that before you share any information, think, try to find out if that information what you're sharing is genuine, is legitimate, and is a fact.
Hmm.
Correct, and it's not being used to spread fake information, or a malicious narrative. Correct, you don't want to be a part of something like that. So so
Right.
just think before you forward anything. Just think whether it's really important to share that information on your wall. And I would suggest everyone watching this live today, or even the recorded, is that, see, when you, all your social media, okay, imagine yourself, you're sitting in your drawing room, okay, and the wall in front of you is Facebook, the wall on the right side is Twitter, the wall on your left is probably Instagram, okay, things like that, okay. Now imagine these to be, your, imagine all your feeds on these platforms being projected in your house.
Hmm.
Correct. So everybody who walks into your house is going to read all this stuff. Correct?
Hmm.
Now, do you really want to post that on your wall? With
Right.
that perspective, correct? With that perspective, you should be posting whatever you post on.
Right. I think it makes absolute
Just
sense.
take a little, ownership. Don't go so easy thinking that, Arey, yaar, it's just the Facebook wall. Let me just post whatever it is.
Right.
Correct. Don't
Yeah.
do that, because end of the day, today, I'm sure all of the viewers will know that most of the recruiters, correct, most of the companies, they look at your social media, profile.
Hmm.
Correct. They
Yes.
see what kind of posts you make. What are your narratives. What kind of are you making any fake news kind of posts. So they look at all this. This is
Hmm.
your credibility today. Correct.
Right.
So be a little more aware, and be careful, be responsible when you're posting. Now let's come to personal security threats. Now, Meena, you correctly said, pandemic has created a havoc. A lot of people have lost jobs,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are unable to deal with the loss, the financial loss that they have incurred. Excuse me. So we could be looking at some petty crime, not very
Hmm.
serious heinous crimes, not like some really big robberies kind of thing,
Hmm.
but we could be seeing crime going up. I will not deny that.
Hmm.
Correct, because it is a stressful situation, and the market is kind of going down, because of the war that we are seeing in between Ukraine and Russia,
Yes.
and we do not know how that will escalate. So that will definitely have an impact on the market.
Yes.
And if that has an impact on the market, then well, the market will go down still further, and that will impact everyone's life. It will impact the
Hmm.
fuel prices, it will impact the commodities, and it will impact everything, which means
Right.
that those people who have already lost their jobs or lost an income are going to get even worse.
Hmm. Right.
Okay, it's a possibility. I'm not saying it will happen.
Yeah.
Well, even astrologers can't really predict these kind of things. So it is a possibility. So now that it could be a possibility, it's very important that you take care of you take care of your assets. When I say assets, I'm talking about anything that you feel is important and expensive, something that you want to protect.
Hmm.
Could be house, it could be your car, it could be your bike, it could be your valuables, whatever. Correct. So I suggest, if you have valuables at home, please put them in the bank. Correct? Don't keep valuables at home. It's not a very great time to do that. Okay, so please take care of your personal assets.
Right.
Second is, right now, because money is less in circulation, thanks to Paytm and Phone Pay and all of these apps, BHIMs, we are not using as much money as we used to use before.
Right.
Correct. So, which means that the criminals have understood that there is no point, trying to pickpocket or do anything of that sort, because there's no money in the wallets, anyways. So
Right.
now they're getting smarter. And the worst thing is this, guys. Uh, you and the criminals have access to the World Wide Web.
Yes.
The World Wide Web has information to do anything you want to do. Okay, it has information to help you protect yourself. It has information
Right.
to help you destroy somebody.
True.
Right? So if you are accessing information on the World Wide Web on how to protect yourself, be rest assured that there is somebody who's accessing information on how to make you his victim
They
as
will.
well. Correct. So the sword cuts two ways.
Yes.
Please
Yes.
know that it's very, very important you keep your digital data very, very secure. Simple things like don't keep the same passwords for all accounts. Okay. Do not save the passwords in your computer, in your browser data. Correct. This is something that one of our team guys in a cyber company told me yesterday. He said, "Sir, please make sure that you have a small notebook and you write your passwords there. Correct, physical, because this notebook cannot be hacked virtually. Correct. So it's safe, it's secured. Correct. So that is something that you can do. Okay. And another thing I've been noticing for quite some time is that there is this need, or I don't know where this, this trend came in from, but I see a lot of people putting their passport numbers, their driving license numbers, their PAN card details on their resumes, on their CVs. Now that's a very
Yes.
dangerous thing to do. Correct, guys. Please understand, a company that needs you to give this particular information to them, they will ask you.
Right.
Okay, they will ask you, and you can give it to them directly. You don't have to put it on your CV and make it public.
Right.
Correct, because your passport number, your PAN card, your driving license number, I think is enough to tell somebody who you are, correct, where you're from, what's your permanent address, which is there on your passport and your driving license, correct, and your PAN card, which is enough for somebody to spoof your identity and pick up some 3-4 credit cards in your name,
Right.
and and go shopping and even go some trips around the world.
Yes. Yes.
Correct. So be very careful how you are putting your data or how you are managing your data. Don't let these very sensitive informations go out. And I
Right.
also see that thanks to these third party vendors which banks hire, which I think is one of the worst things the banks do. These third party vendors, they call you for a credit card, okay, and they tell you that we are calling you from this bank. Okay, first of all, that is misrepresentation of facts. They do not belong to that bank.
Right.
Okay, they cannot tell you that I'm calling from ICICI or HDFC. No, they can't do that. Okay, so when I get a call, what I do, I tell them that, okay, I want to apply for this credit card. Sounds very good. Why don't you send the bank official to my house to pick up the documents? And make sure that that bank official has a valid ID card of the bank, not of a third party. And then, then they come out and they say, no, sir, we are third party. I said, no problem. Give me the name and number of the bank manager, and I will personally go to the branch and I will give my documents to him. Correct. And then they say, no, sir, we will lose out our commission. I said, then sorry, I don't want your credit card. Keep it with you.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
Right.
Correct. Guys, you can be exploited when you become desperate. When you
Right.
become desperate for a credit card or or for a loan or anything of that sort, that is when you are showing your vulnerability to these guys that I am desperate, I need money. And that's when they know that you can do whatever they want you to do to get that money. Correct. So please be aware of your vulnerabilities. And I do understand that these are tough times. Everyone is crunched financially, so
Right.
we are desperate. Correct. But you don't have to show that desperateness to people.
Right.
You don't have to do that.
Absolutely, and I think I just read a post today. I think it was an article being shared that because of this Ukraine and Russia war, and people are thinking that probably as the fuel prices are already uprising, so people are feeling that probably the situation might get worse, especially over here in India. So they have started stocking petrol and cooking oil just to make sure that by the time if it does lead to such situations, so they are already well off, and they don't have to run from pillar to post finding out the fuel or the basic necessities. So this has already started happening in India, and I don't understand the reason behind this.
See, Meena, what people need to understand is this, that India is far away from this war. Okay, we are neither going to get into the war for Russia, or are we neither getting into the war for NATO or America. We are not part of NATO anyway, so we have nothing to do with this war. It
True.
is just that we have good relationships. Now, if you look at India and its geopolitics, we have never invaded a single country. I don't know, in history as well. I don't remember India invading any country before it got invaded.
So it has always tried to safeguard itself instead of
Absolutely,
being
absolutely.
the rural.
And we have maintained friendship with every single country, apart from, the few neighbors,
Yeah, yeah.
the naughty neighbors that we have. Correct. So apart from these guys, we've maintained brilliant relationships with every single country on the planet. So the last country which needs to fear that
Yes.
there is possible war, because of Russia Ukraine is India. If you actually ask me.
I'm
So
sure,
we
but
don't
yeah,
need to
look.
get into panic situation. We should relax and we should focus on building our economy. That's very
Absolutely, that is
important.
what it is. So, the another thing I would like to ask you, which has been raised by one of the participants, that how sorry, how personal security is different from martial arts. Because when I spoke with few women, they especially asked that they are in that age, probably they are above they are above 40, and then they are maybe in their 60s. So they got excited by hearing this program, and the only thing they wanted to ask that do I need to do all those kind of karate acts and all that what we see in movies, because I am not in that age and I actually cannot do. So how this program would be beneficial for me?
Brilliant question. So I'll just give you a small brief about what personal security is. Personal security. Okay, let me take an example. Martial arts, okay, is like Salman Khan. Okay, macho body and punches and kicks and all that stuff. While personal security is like Akshay Kumar. Correct. It's tactics, using mind tactics, or maybe even James Bond. He's not really macho, in terms of muscles and all that stuff. He's not like Sylvester Stallone and all that. But it is tactics, it's mind tactics. So once you are aware of how to defeat your adversary, or your opponent mentally, you don't have to get into a physical battle.
Right.
Correct. It is when you are unable to mitigate the mental battle, that is when it escalates and it gets into the physical battle.
Right.
Correct. Even the
Got it.
US, even the Ukraine Russia thing is the same thing. They could not, mitigate it at the talk level, at the mind level, and that's when it has gone to the physical battle. So that is the escalation process. So personal security, what it does is, first thing, it exposes you to your vulnerabilities. Okay. Now it's very important to know that what is it that, because see, the criminal or the abuser, they exploit, they identify, and they exploit our vulnerabilities. Correct? That's how they make us their victims. But if I could identify my vulnerabilities before somebody else, and I convert, I either eliminate those vulnerabilities, or I destroy those vulnerabilities and I convert them into strength, there is nothing for a abuser to exploit.
Right.
Correct. So there is nothing, when there is nothing for him to exploit, he'll just pass you on, and he say, okay, no, this girl, this lady, not my victim. Next. So you are, you just get disqualified as a victim.
Yes, I have personally seen this, that especially when you are traveling, and especially when you reach any such point where it is either very secluded or there are less people, so you actually get a feeling, or you get a kind of a sixth sense. Your sixth sense is ignited, that there is someone who is watching you, or probably there is this car who is trying to follow you, or there could be some kind of a mischief around you. So you better be prepared and just safeguard yourself uh, from all the 4 or 8 corners, so that just in case, even if you reach to such situation, so you should know how to protect yourself. So I think that is what it is, that we need to be aware of, that what are those kind of things that especially women should know, instead of falling prey to all these things.
Correct. These are called pre-incident indicators. Like how, before a tsunami or before a cyclone, there are ways to predict a cyclone today. Correct. You have a satellite image which is showing a concentration of certain clouds and, in certain formation, and you get to know that, okay, there could be a cyclone. Correct. Similarly, before a crime happens, there are certain things that a criminal does that give away his intention. So if you know how to identify them, voila.
Then I think then they
Yes, you can you know how to predict the guy.
and I think then they need to probably get themselves trained to know new techniques and tactics, I guess, that how
Absolutely,
to
because you
like this.
understand, 90% of these these abusers or criminals, they are not trained. Correct? They are not, okay, let me put it this way, they might be trained, they are not educated in crime.
In crime. Yeah.
Correct? When you are educated in crime, then you will think of all these things. That,
Right.
am I giving away with my body language? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? But these guys are not that. Correct? So, but you are educated and you can educate yourself in personal security. So, you have a upper hand.
Right.
You can have an upper hand if you take the subject seriously.
I'm sure, definitely that's there. So the another thing I would like to ask you, that is there for this personal security session, that the physical workshops that you perform, is there any age limit that one needs to follow?
One needs to be above the age of 16.
16.
Yeah, initially it used to be 18.
Okay.
Okay, but looking at how even 16-year-olds are becoming victims, well, I've done it to 16, but yes, there is a clause there. Right now these workshops are only for women,
Okay.
okay, and children, as in female children. But the clause here is that if the girl is below the age of 18, she has to be accompanied by her mother.
Hmm.
Okay, because there are
Yes.
certain things that I speak of, and the guardian of that person needs to be there, and they need to help that person understand my narrative, or why am I talking, what am I talking.
I'm sure, and I think with this new education policy that has been implemented now, earlier, I mean, I'm just moving a slight from this topic, but I think it is good to share. Earlier, the government or the educational institutions used to say adult education, but now they have reframed it into education for all, so that it does not sound that they are actually giving education related to adult education, or being it sex education. Likewise, if I talk about right now, I think maybe in the near future, probably this program would again shift, not just to 16, but I think to 14 or 13 or 12 maybe, because the kind of exposure, especially the innocent children are facing. They do not know about this bad touch and good touch, and if they are in those senses to understand the differences, then I think probably maybe later down the line we could have some programs even for children in the age group of 10 to 15.
Meena, I have a slightly different opinion in when it comes to minors.
Okay.
Well, I feel in case of minors, okay, there are three stakeholders who are responsible for security of minors.
Right.
Okay. Now, when I'm talking about minors, I'm talking about both boys and girls here. Correct. The first stakeholder is the parent. The second stakeholder is the school or the institution. Okay, when I say institutions, I'm talking about everybody who's a part of that institution: the teachers, the helpers, and everybody, the guard, security guard there, everybody. Correct. So parents, teachers, and the third and the most important stakeholder here is the society. Correct. Now, the security of a minor is the 100% responsibility of these three people. Correct. Minors cannot be held responsible for their security. It is absolutely ridiculous to think like that.
Right, right.
Correct.
Okay.
Minors, they should be focusing on self-development, not to protect themselves from violent and malicious intent. Okay.
Right.
Personally, I feel it's a ridiculous thought to push our kids to learn martial arts and to learn aggression and to do all that. Correct. It's a very stupid thing to do. Okay. Now, what I do is I don't hold programs for kids, that is minors.
Right.
I do programs, personal security programs for the parents,
Okay.
for the institutions. Correct. Because these two people, of course, society, I will not, it's not somebody different. It is institution plus parents make the society.
Yes. True.
Correct. So what I do is I educate the parents and the institution, and it is their responsibility to teach the safety education to their kids.
Right.
Okay. Now, why I say that is because when you teach, let's go back to school. Now, I've been a sportsman, correct? And when I think of school, the first person, or whenever I am in stressful situation, physically, mentally, the first person who comes to my mind is my physical trainer, PT teacher,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
Or my football coach. Why? Because that guy, he whipped me and he pushed me beyond my physical and mental capabilities back then. Correct. So when I am in tough situations, I remember him. Even today I remember him. Correct. So security is such a beautiful subject that it brings the teacher and the pupil, it bonds them in a beautiful relationship of trust and integrity. Now imagine a parent teaching his kid or their kid the subject. It is
Right.
going to bring these two people together. And that is what today parents and kids need.
True.
Correct?
Exactly. Exactly.
So use the subject of security, which is one of the most amazing subjects, to bring people together.
Right, and I think that is what it is needed. That now, um, in fact, a lot of institutions and colleges are coming up with these kind of self-development or holistic development programs, and probably we would have some sessions planned with few of the colleges very soon. So that is also there. The another thing I would like to ask you, that this is the question being raised by few women. Some of them belong to the corporate world, so they normally go to the office, and even after this corona thing, their offices have been resumed, so they are back to the previous normal what used to happen. Then some of them, while commuting, especially I'm not talking about metro because metro is quite safe, but I'm talking about the public transport in general, like buses or trains, and then at home, especially because we have this notion, especially Indians have this notion that if you want to attack especially a woman, then try to go to their home during afternoon, because they know that children would be in school, and their husband would be in office or shop, so they would be all alone. So it's very easy to target women at that time. So if such situation happens, like these are the different kind of scenarios, but if you can touch base on what kind of signals that they can get along these different journeys that can make them think that, yes, they are in danger, or they might fall prey to some kind of a danger.
Okay, I think you spoke about a couple of things here. You spoke about corporate women, and then you spoke about women who are at home, and
Yes.
and few others. So I'll just take these two examples
Sure.
for our discussion. Now, the worst thing that Corona has done is that it has given all of us, including especially the abusers, a mandatory mask. Correct. Now, it so many times it has happened that I am not able to recognize my own friend because he's wearing a mask. Correct, because we are not used
Yes.
to
Yeah.
seeing somebody with this much of part covered and only the eyes and the forehead. Correct. So now the malicious intent and action has got a mask, and it's a mandatory mask. Correct. So God bless all of us. So now
Yes.
we have to be much more careful. Now we need to start identifying people by their eyes. Correct. And I always say this, in close protection, in VIP security. I'm sure you would have seen, the guys standing with, weapons or without weapons, whatever. They stand next to the VIP, and you know what they are watching?
Yes. People around.
They are watching the eyes of the
Okay.
people.
Oh, I see.
They're watching the eyes. Now, Meena, if I tell you, okay, I'm letting out a big secret now here on YouTube, okay. So, but it's not a big secret, but still okay. So
Yeah.
now, if I ask you, Meena, that there is a there is a glass in front of you, and I give you a ball, okay, and there's a glass in front of you here, and I'm standing next to you, and I say, Meena, look at me, but hit the ball. Can you do that? You can't.
No.
Which means that the eyes of the attacker have to look at the object which is going to attack. The eyes give away the attacker.
I see. Yeah.
Correct? Always remember this point. The eyes give away the attacker.
I think that's a, yeah.
Okay? Now, this is one of the main reasons why I always tell women that always look people in the eye.
I let me share one incident that actually has happened. That I was when this metro thing didn't happen, and I used to go to different colleges for tournaments because I've been a player. So and at that time we used to always board these public transport buses, especially the buses part. So and sometimes so we used to even travel 3 to 4 hours into a rural area completely, just to play a match or just to join a camp, sports camp. And the kind of expression, because at that time there were no masks. I'm talking about back 10 to 12 years back. I'm talking about the situation. So at that time, the way that we used to gauge people was through eyes, and it was always like this, that whenever we used to constantly watch that person in their eye, so he or she, and not she, but mostly it was he, they used to be so frightened, or they used to just move around, or they used to understand that, yeah, she is understanding what we want or what we are trying to do. So either they used to deboard the bus, or they just started talking with some other person. And then we used to then our friends used to share the things that, this guy was planning something big, or he was trying to do some mischief. But as soon as we gave him a tough look, because it's very famous amongst girls to say that, give him a tough look. So saying that, and that actually works if you do so. And if women know about this concept of a tough look, then
Yes.
it actually works, not just to, not in a funny way, but even for these kind of unsocial elements, it definitely works.
Absolutely. So so it's okay even if they have a mask, but they can't cover their eyes. Of
Right.
course, if they're wearing glasses and they cover their
Yes.
eyes as well, then well, it's a difficult situation. Then you got to be keeping your distance with these people. Then.
Then I think you just need to bring in yourself the CID aspect, like the women we see in movies and CID shows, like the women who used to be, who behaves in that manner that they can gauge people even if they are wearing specs or they are wearing glasses. So I think then we used to bring their soul into us.
No, it's very easy. See,
Yes.
the thing is that I heard one of very renowned speakers say this, that women are gifted with sixth sense. Okay, they can identify a wolf under a sheepskin.
Right.
Okay, but the challenge is that most of the time, when the inner voice, the instinct is telling you or warning you, you discount that warning. That's the problem. You don't believe
Yeah.
the warning that is coming from within you. You get into denial, saying that, "Arey, nahi, nahi, it's just my fear. It is just my
Yes.
this." Arey, Baba, yes, it is your fear. It is giving you a warning. Why don't you take yourself seriously?
Exactly. That's the point.
Correct. Correct. So, okay, so you got to take yourself seriously. You got to listen to your instinct when it's telling you. See, initially it might be wrong. Maybe, I don't know. One time, two times, three times, 10 times it might be wrong. But I think I rather believe it 10 times than rather not believe it once and be a victim.
True. True. I agree.
It's like that.
Sure. So I'll just refresh the session once again. So today we are discussing about personal security, especially which is for men for women, and we are actually in a Q&A session with Mr. Rowe, who is famously called as CR. So we will be discussing further about some of the other questions, and later towards the end of the session we would also be sharing our contact details. If anyone of the viewer would like to be involved in the physical sessions that we are planning, or if any corporate or any college or an institution would like to plan a session for their employees or their students. So let's just get back to the session. The another thing I would like to ask you is this, that if we talk about this physical workshop that you perform at different institutes or colleges, so if you can just give a gist of it. I understand that we would not be able to go into the details, but if you can please give a gist of what this physical workshop would entail, so that the viewers could understand in a better way, and then we can plan the sessions.
Sure, Meena. So this physical workshop is approximately around 90 minutes, 90 to 120 minutes. Okay, it totally depends on the Q&A that goes after that, because the Q&A is very very important. It's not a delivery, some speech delivery that I keep talking for hour and a half and then people just go back home. That's not the intent. It's women understanding the subject, what I've shared with them, and they asking questions, because that's when they are taking out the vulnerabilities in their head. So
Right.
the Q&A is very, very important. So we start the program with I start the program with helping my participants understand what is security. Correct. Understanding the subject of security, understanding the types of security, understanding the difference between safety and security, which is the most critical thing for us to understand. Correct. We've been talking about women's safety for the last how many years? It's going to be 10 years now after Nirbhaya happened, but we still don't have women's safety anywhere. Why? Because we are chasing a ghost. Correct. Women's safety is a ghost. It does not exist. And in fact, I wrote about it extensively on my newsletter, which I publish on LinkedIn, which is Security 101. And I said it is a ghost, and we've been chasing a ghost, and hence we are not able to see any results on ground. So we have to start focusing on women's security, not women's safety. Correct. So we understand that. And then there is a concept that I have created, which is it's not a concept, it's more of a tactic which I created, which is called the personal security firewalls. Like how you have cyber firewalls which protect your computer and your information systems from external attacks.
Right.
Similarly, I have designed a few firewalls which help you understand somebody's intent, which protect you from a physical attack, okay, or even an emotional attack,
Right.
even though it's not physical. So I talk about that, and then we also talk about a few other elements which are important for women to understand when it comes to defending themselves,
Hmm. Hmm.
correct? Which is one of the most important is personal will, correct? The will, the strength, the inner strength, or the inner commitment that one has to oneself to be able to fight. Okay, I mean, you will need this inner will at a very later stage when things have got escalated really bad. The
Right.
idea is not to take things that far, to mitigate them much before that. But sometimes you don't know, it might go there. Maybe you missed a certain cues, you didn't pay attention, and things go there, correct? So how to mitigate, how to build, how to develop your personal will to secure and defend yourself. Then we talk about a few legalities which exist, the law, how it is in your favor, and how it helps you to be able to defend yourself better. And last but not the least, we watch crime caught on camera. Okay, we watch the crime, and we watch the criminal, and we watch the victim, and then we understand from that video on what went right, what went wrong, what could have happened, what couldn't have happened. Okay, and all that. Now, that part is very important, because especially under the guidance of a security professional, it's very important, because I'm sure those videos that I'm sharing, you will get them on YouTube,
Right.
right? And you will watch it 1,000 times. But when I show you those videos from my perspective of a security professional, you will see new things in that video
Right.
that you had never before, thought of. That is the perspective that you need to have.
I'm sure that
Correct?
is what is needed.
That is the beginning of the security culture that I'm talking about.
Right.
Correct. So that
Exactly.
is what we do in the end, and then we talk. Then I share a few unarmed combat moves, the physical. How to get rid of a physical. Somebody gets hold of you and things like that.
Right.
Now that is not really martial arts. Okay, it's unarmed combat, which you just need to keep in mind. You just need to practice on a daily basis, mentally, physically. Okay, but it does not need you to do push-ups and run a mile and do all that.
Right. Right.
These are very
Absolutely.
simple things that anybody of any height, any weight, any age, or any physical aspect
Right.
can do.
Agree.
Okay, so I share that, and then we go into the Q&A session.
I see, I see. And I think probably this would also involve, I'm not so sure because I'm yet to attend the physical session. So, one thing I wanted to ask, I just got this thought that probably we understand that how how a male functions, for example, in terms of his behavior, in terms of his giving glances or looks, and we, as you rightly said, that there is a kind of this sixth sense that we understand that whether this person is actually a friend or is actually an enemy. So that is also there. But I think at the same time, we also start or probably there is a need to also understand how even women respond to things, because I have noticed personally the area where I'm in, there is a very famous market where the place where I reside, and over there the women gang is very active. So I mean, it is very surprising to see even those, even our female counterparts because they very well understand that how a women will operate and function and respond to things, and people have started training women on these things. So I think probably we also need to make or understand how women also would react or uh, give you those kind of signals that she is not just giving you a look just normally or generally. She has some intention behind, so you better be watchful, otherwise you have to pay for the repercussions.
See, in fact, Meena, the personal security firewalls I spoke about.
Yeah, yeah.
So these firewalls are generic. correct? These firewalls will filter out, the incoming, whatever the incoming is, not based on gender.
Okay, okay,
Okay, so the
nice.
firewalls are not gender specific. They are just firewalls. So anything which is going to hurt you will get filtered out there. So it
Okay,
doesn't matter whether it's coming from a male or a female or a relative or whoever. It doesn't matter.
right, right, right. Got it, got it. So, the another thing I would like to ask you, I think we are towards the conclusion of the session. Um, how, in terms of registration, how can one register for this physical session workshop?
How can they register? Well,
I mean, through one of the platforms is through us. We would be sharing our WhatsApp number after this session.
absolutely.
They can do it through that. They can contact us. They can also contact us on LinkedIn. Apart from that, is there any prerequisite required to be a part of that session, or how long or how much in advance it has to be booked?
No, nothing of that sort. See, I am based out of Delhi NCR. Correct. So if you want to do a physical workshop around this area, well, you can reach out to me at least, let's say 3-4 days in advance. That should work out pretty good. Depending
Okay,
on
sure,
if I'm traveling anywhere and stuff.
sure.
But otherwise, if it's in a different city, then yes, we will have to need at least a
Plan the
week or
things.
two. Yeah, planning before that.
Sure, at least I think week or two would be required
Yeah, a week or
in
two is decent.
definitely, definitely. So, okay, and any kind of a space requirement that you would like to proactively tell people that, at least this much of a space would be required?
Well, I think just follow up COVID protocols for now. I think that should be the
Right,
space requirement, which is more important than
right.
anything else. And apart from that, nothing. I think maybe some
Yeah,
just enough space where we don't feel claustrophobic.
yeah. So true.
Not that I am, but yeah, I'm sure
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
might be.
Definitely. So, would there be any? I would request if you can share any concluding notes or your concluding thoughts before we wrap up this session for today.
Concluding notes and thoughts, all I can say is that, I always believe that India can be the most secured nation on the planet. Okay, internally. Externally, we have the armed forces, and they are more than sufficient to do what it needs to be done. But internally, from crime and criminals and all this petty stuff, I think we can be the most secured nation because we have 1.3 billion CCTV cameras. That's you and me.
Right, right. Got you.
Correct. But the challenge is that every time a crime happens, the CCTV camera is designed to focus the other way. So we don't do, as citizens, as civilians, we are not doing our job. And the most easiest thing to do is blame the police. And that's what we are doing. We are doing what is easy. We are not doing
Exactly.
what is necessary. Because what is necessary takes strength, what is necessary takes courage to do, and what is necessary takes unity to do.
Right, right.
So if we can stick around with people who are around us, if we see somebody who is helping someone in need, instead of just standing there and watching, I think we should go join.
Exactly.
Correct. And that is what we should be doing. So first thing is we need to educate ourselves in personal security, because we need to understand how to make our surroundings secure.
Right, right.
And if 1.3 billion people know how to do that, then imagine what can happen to India.
Sure, and I think then probably because this is just a um, people are not even that much open to security aspect, because if you normally talk to someone about security aspect, so they are like either first of all they are not open to talk, or even if they talk they are mostly like we make sure that we are just alert, but I don't think so that alertness will actually help them being safe. So you need to understand some other measures also, which is accompanied by being alert, so that just in case if you fall under such kind of a situation, you should know how to tackle that situation. Because see, even if I'm traveling late in the night, and I'm very alert that yeah, I know there is no one at the back, no one in the front, and on all the sides of mine. But what if there is immediately someone from the street immediately comes up near to me and just hold me? What will I do then? Where is your alertness then? So I think these are situations which we need to understand, and considering the current situation, it has actually become the need of the hour now that we should know the techniques, the tactics, not just to save yourself, but probably pass on this kind of a legacy, kind of a knowledge to your female counterparts and the generation to come, so that they also understand. And I'm sure these things, these crimes, and probably these kind of antisocial activities, they will have a monstrous face even later part of the life, because this is just the general thing people do not know. How about thinking about the brutal things that have happened to people, where they didn't know how to react, and they didn't know how to understand, and they just didn't know that they have just become a victim of something. So this is what we
Correct.
also need to make people aware, that you should learn the ABCD of this also. If you have learned the ABCD of how to make sentences in English, then you should also understand the ABCD of personal security, which is for
Absolutely.
your
And
own
I
benefit.
think, and I think I want to end, my side of sharing with a very important, sharing here. We have in India one of the biggest industry, which is called the private security industry. Okay, which is governed by CAPSI, which is Central Association of Private Security Industry.
Okay.
Now, in India, under private security industry, we have close to around 20 plus thousand companies.
Oh.
Okay, and we have more than 9.3 or 9.4 million security professionals, guards, senior management, middle management, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the biggest challenge of what this industry is facing today is that people, when they come to to this industry to get their services, the kind of unreasonable negotiations that they do is absolutely uncalled for. Now you are hiring a private security agency to secure your space. Now whether
Right.
it's a house or a corporate or a mall or I don't know what, correct? You need security there because you feel there is a threat.
Right.
Now, I do not understand the reluctance on our part. I'm including myself in it because I stay in a society here, correct?
Right.
And including residential societies. Now, I don't understand our reluctance to pay these people decent money to motivate them to secure us. The kind of money that we want to pay them is so ridiculous that you cannot get a well trained security professional for the kind of money that you want to pay.
I see.
And then we expect that we want to be secured. I mean, how?
Right.
So we have to get over this mentality of negotiation and bargaining. Correct, we have to get over this mentality, and that is why we keep getting sold nonsense for the price we pay. Why? Because we bargain for everything. So even the manufacturers know that अरे यार ये लोग bargain करेंगे, so make low quality stuff, let them bargain and let them buy.
Exactly. That is what they do. And I think
Correct.
also, talking about
Yeah,
our
and
part.
and and this mentality should, maybe you keep it in your grocery store and all that stuff. Please do not get a bargaining mentality when it comes to your security and safety. That is not, your life is not worth the few hundred rupees that you will save. Trust me. Okay, it's not worth it.
I'm definitely sure on this, and I think just to add on to this, if you would notice that whenever there is any kind of a frisking point, people are so agitated and they do not
I
want
mean,
to.
it's
I,
it's it's for our safety he's doing it.
exactly. So that is also, we need to have a little patience over there also, because I
Yes.
don't think so that they're doing it intentional or they mean it. They're doing it because it's the nature of their job that they're into. I would rather, like, this has actually happened, that when I was in the metro line, the lady in front of me, she started questioning the guard that why this kind of risking is involved. So I just told her that, ma'am, if you have that much problem, why don't you just exchange the job roles for one day and then understand what she is into. Then she kept mum, and then she kept on blabbering, and then she walked away. So the guards came, and then they were like, ma'am, thank you for this, nobody actually do it, and they don't understand why we are doing so. It's for your benefit only. What if
Absolutely.
something happened, then you will blame us only. You don't understand that kind of a psyche.
True,
So
true.
that is what it is. And I think um, personal security is something that, just like we safeguard our online tools by using passwords, I think likewise we have to use different kind of passwords for ourselves to safeguard our own personal security,
Absolutely.
isn't it? All right. So, let's just conclude this session. So, thank you once again, Mr. O, famously called as CR. So, now let me just quickly share some of the ways that people can get in touch with us. So, either all of you who are watching or who would be watching even later also, you can either get in touch with us through our LinkedIn platform. You can directly DM me. I am available on LinkedIn. Meena Vashne is my name. So, you can DM me directly. Then, the second option is you can send us an email. We will be mentioning in the description section of this video, which is abapkiwari@gmail.com. And we have just recently got a new number, new WhatsApp number. So please make sure that if you are sending us WhatsApp and if it is not related to any fruitful discussion, then we will not be responding. So please be wary of the fact. Our number is 8595 350 973. We would also be showcasing that in the description section. So anyone who would like to get in touch with CR or would like to conduct for their society or mall or maybe even their college or school, so you can directly drop us a mail or a message, and we would love to host a session at your place, and then we would love to take the discussion forward. So last part, Mr. O, anything that you would like to add on before we just conclude? We are just about to conclude it now.
Okay, I think we've taken it quite far enough. So I'll just conclude with 5 words:
Sure.
predict, prepare, protect, prevent, preserve. Just remember this.
Definitely the 5 P's. Sure. Thank you so much once again, and thank you everyone who was a part of this session and who would be watching even further. Feel free to get in touch with us at any point. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Mr.
much, Meena.
Take care.